welcome back to my annual Oscar series where I talk about all the Oscar categories except for the short film ones. I rank all the nominees per category according to who I think deserves to win the Oscar, then I make a prediction for who I think will win that Oscar. Now we're down to the second to the last category, which is Best Director, and the nominees are Damien Chazelle for La La Land, Mel Gibson for Hacksaw Ridge, Barry Jenkins for Moonlight, Kenneth Lonergan for Manchester by the Sea, and Denis Villeneuve for Arrival. Now this is a good list of nominees for Best Director. The only change I would make here is that I would replace my number 5 with David Mackenzie for Hell or High Water. I think his direction for that film is severely underappreciated. The whole film really is, I think, kind of underrated even at this point. Now in terms of who I think should win the Oscar, at number 5, the guy who I would replace with David Mackenzie is Mel Gibson. Now, not to discredit what Mel Gibson has accomplished with Hacksaw Ridge, because he's proven once again that he is an epic filmmaker. Like, that's his wheelhouse. The action sequences in Hacksaw Ridge are genuinely thrilling and they are so well constructed. The thing I have with Mel Gibson though is that I don't think he's a storyteller kind of director. There's really great sequences in Hacksaw Ridge, but I don't think most of them really go much deeper. I think you can really see these flaws pop up in the second half when there are like silly things that happen in the action sequences, and it's always bothered me in both my viewings of Hacksaw Ridge that we're not really watching the action from any particular point of view, not from Desmond's point of view, not from the other soldiers' point of view, so the action never gets to take that extra personal component. But that's just like a very small specific thing. But yeah, that's why he's at number 5 for me. Now at number 4, I'm going to give it to Denis Villeneuve for Arrival. And it's tough to put him at number 4 because I love Arrival so much and I love what he did with the movie. Now I've mentioned it before, but it's just so extremely impressive how Denis makes Arrival feel both grand and incredibly personal at the same time. He simultaneously captures the horror and the wonder of first contact with aliens, and that scene where Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner and Forest Whitaker go into the heptapod shell for the first time, it really just scared the hell out of me, but at the same time I couldn't take my eyes off the screen because it just was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. Now at number 3, I'm going to give it to Kenneth Lonergan for Manchester by the Sea. Now, Manchester by the Sea doesn't at first seem like a director's film. It does seem much more like a writer's film or an actor's film, but you can see Kenneth Lonergan's touch over everything if you look hard enough, especially over the performances and how they're all so in tune with each other in terms of being restrained. There's no actor out of place here who kind of tries to upstage anybody else. And there is value to how Kenneth Lonergan films stuff in such a simple way. Because through simplicity, these moments of high emotion become even more powerful than they would have been if he tried to kind of smother everything in melodrama. But because he takes the simple approach, he allows the rawness of these emotional revelations to really hit home really hard. And despite that, I love that Kenneth Lonergan still finds ways to inject a lot of humor into Manchester by the Sea. Natural humor that arises from the characters and the situations. I think he did a masterful job. Now at second place, I'm going to give it to Barry Jenkins for Moonlight. Barry Jenkins has proven with Moonlight that he is the kind of director who perfectly is able to synchronize every single element of a film into one unique vision. So much so that when I watch Moonlight, I am tempted to credit everything to him. The actors, the cinematography, the writing, and everything. Because it just feels like a film created by a real auteur. Someone who knows what he wants to say and knows exactly how to get to that vision. I love how Barry Jenkins is able to portray this world specifically through Chiron's point of view. Like, he makes everything just feel claustrophobic and sort of like filters out the outside world. And Barry Jenkins is one of those guys who knows how to use a long take in film in such a way that it does not call attention to itself and it does not get boring. Especially in the third act of Moonlight, there are a lot of long takes that are really meant to just kind of immerse you and make you feel this quiet sort of tension between two people. And really, there's just something special about the tone that Barry Jenkins strikes with Moonlight that I really just can't describe. There's so much about Moonlight that I think is indescribable. And with regards to the tone, Moonlight does have heavy subject matter, but it never gets too heavy that you can't watch it. There's just something very watchable about it that kind of makes you feel like you're looking at the world for the very first time again through a very different lens. I can't describe it, but it really just made me feel something special. And finally, at number 1, the guy who I would give Best Director to at this year's Oscars is Damien Chazelle. Now, I know that that is the easy answer because Damien Chazelle's direction in La La Land is the flashiest among all these nominees, and I'm not gonna deny that. However, there's also no denying that what he does is incredible, like what he does with this movie musical, because you just feel the love for filmmaking coming from this guy as you're watching the movie. And that's not to say that these other directors don't love filmmaking, of course they do. But while you're watching La La Land, it almost feels participative, like through the audience's watching of the film, it's like we're putting it together ourselves, because there's just so many moving parts in La La Land, and seeing them come together so well is part of the fun. Of course, the musical sequences have really grand staging, but the smaller scenes as well between characters really work well. They feel authentic, they feel earned, and they feel like they exist in the same world. La La Land is definitely a movie that wears its heart on its sleeve, but the emotions it brings out are still really complex, I think. Especially, again, I keep bringing it up, but it is just a great example of filmmaking. That last 10-minute section of La La Land has a lot of emotion running through it, but it's balanced so well, and the emotions change from one to another with perfect timing, and Damien Chazelle really has a hold on tone and on what he wants to say in a film, and he really accomplished it so well that I really would not be angry if he won Best Director. And in terms of my prediction, I also think it's going to go to Damien Chazelle because, like I said, it's the flashiest sort of direction. The Academy loves that, but he really is just, you know, worthy. Alright, so those are my thoughts on Best Director. What do you guys think of the nominees? Who do you think should win? Who do you think will win? Whatever you guys think, whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.